If you've ever been dropped off a stretcher during a field exercise and your rifle, which is on your chest, planted barrel first into the ground, buttstock up, so as you fell, the buttstock, which was upright, struck you in the face and nearly knocked you unconscious, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Guys, like and comment. The comment section is out of control, much like the Rhodesian brush war. Get in there, fight the good fight. If you're looking to support the channel, the best way to support the channel is Big Daddy Unlimited. Big Daddy Unlimited is like the Costco of the gun world. Super cheap prices, 99 cents for the first month, and then it's a subscription. So is it gonna be worth it? Depends if you're buying stuff. If not, no, it's not gonna be worth it. If you're looking for ammunition, LEX ammo, and of course, Vertex. Coming out with some really good stuff coming up, so make sure you check them out. Discount code GRANDTHUMB for 25% off. Ladies, gentlemen, and of course, my often forgotten, but not by me, ACOGs. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about, well, specifically we're going to be revisiting an optic, and that is going to be the Primary Arms Raptor. As you know, I'm quite the Raptor hunter, so if you know anything about this channel, you know that I have reviewed this optic once before, and I was impressed by it. I liked it quite a bit. Now, I said something, however, that pissed off Primary Arms quite a bit. Now, I don't mind pissing off companies. We'll talk about this in a second. But in any case, I said that I did not believe this, as good as this was, I did not think that it was as tough as more expensive optics in the $800, $900 category. And it's for that reason that, you know, you pick and choose, maybe want to spend a little bit more. Primary Arms came up at me and was like, whoa, you don't think it's as tough? Fucking nut up or shut up. So they said, what do you need to torture test this? And I said, well, what platform destroys optics? The Scar, of course. So I said, give me 1,000 rounds of 308 and give me a little bit more time to do some more testing beyond the 308. And so they were very cool. They acquiesced. They sent 1,000 rounds. So that's pretty cool of them, first off. And they allowed me to take as much time as I needed to torture test this. So beyond what was done in the initial review on the Primary Arms Raptor, I did an additional 4,000 rounds of 5.56 and an additional 2,000 rounds of 308. Thank you, LEX Ammunition, for the additional ammunition beyond that. And that was to make sure that this thing was going to survive. Now, before we get into all of that, let's talk about full disclosures. So what is my relationship with Primary Arms, and what do you guys need to know? Just like I always do. So me and Primary Arms have worked together for quite a while. I'm a big fan of them. I like their optics quite a bit. They were one of the first people to support me when the channel first started by sending ammunition and optics. Pretty cool of them. I'm a bit of a loyal person, so I kind of have a soft spot in my heart for them. Now, despite all of that, I, of course, always try to be as both transparent and as neutral as possible whenever I'm reviewing any product. Plenty of companies have sent me stuff that I have not been a fan of, and then I've made that quite readily apparent. I love the CZ Scorpion. I did not like the Bren, and I was very, very open about that. So realize that despite good relationships with companies, I don't mince words. Now, if that's a problem for you and you think that I'm biased in some way, that's understandable. But at the very least, at least I'm transparent about my relationship. So it's with that in mind that I began this review probably a solid year ago and actually started testing this optic in earnest. So the 4,000 or so rounds of 5.56 were done on Mark 18 platforms primarily. So ARs with about a 10.3 to 10.5 barrel length. Now, are those particularly punishing on optics? No, 5.56 is a very gentle round. And 308 can be as well, depending on which way the recoil is going. But due to the way the Scar recoils, he launches optics. He just loves, it's probably due to the heavy bolts and the way it, the bolt moves and reciprocates and the amount of weight going forward. That's what a lot of people theorize. And there's far more people, far more smarter than me that have figured this out and have better theories on it than me. But in any case, the Scar is well known for breaking optics. Optics that survive this are typically things like the L-cans or the L-cans, whatever you want to call them. I had a Night Force on here that also survived, but you need some pretty tough optics to be able to handle the recoil on the Scar. So I thought this was a great test platform. Some different weapons I also tested this on were like my normal Mark 18. This right here, what's this? In any case, the Scar is a great platform for it. So before we get into this, a couple things about the primary arms I like to talk about. First off, what makes, in my mind, the primary arm optics so good is the reticle. Dimitri, the guy who has engineered the reticle, is probably one of the more forward-thinking designers when it comes to combat-type reticles, and he does a wonderful job in designing them and making them easy to use and that type of stuff. I had plenty of videos on it and shooting Shrek with it and that type of stuff, so check them out. I'm not going to go over it back now, but suffice to say they're excellent. Now this optic, even prior to starting this review, is pretty well worn. In any case, the turret caps are awesome. I have no issues, despite the thousands of times I've re-zeroed this thing and changed guns on it and all that kind of stuff. The threads have held steady, which is always an issue with threads kind of like getting cross-threaded and getting all fucked up and stuff. That hasn't happened. Clicks are nice and positive on this. And that's actually better than many of the higher end optics that I've actually dealt with. So there's a lot to be said about this. The illumination is very similar to other first focal plane optics. So first focal plane optic means when you, in layman's terms, when you're zooming in on it, you zoom in on the reticle. You do the whole Harry Potter crazy thing when you zoom in. And it's pretty cool. But with that, you have some problems with the reticle illumination, where it's the reticle itself that's illuminated. You don't have that bright, crazy dot like you do on something like a Vortex, which are awesome. But it all comes down to what you need. But I do prefer how it zooms in on the ACSS reticle, allows you to really get a good dope, a good zeroing, all that type of stuff. For some people, the reticle is a little too thick with 3 Cs for them. And I do agree it's a little thick. It could be a little bit, maybe a little bit thinner, but it's always a balance between making that work and being able to see it well at the 1 power magnification. And this does go 1 to 6 power, so it's quite good as far as that goes. Now, a couple other factors here. I know there's a lot of explanation going in here. Is I tried to eliminate as many variables as possible. Now, this optic has been mounted to literally every optic mount you can think of. Anything from Bobro to ADM, Gh3, ScalarWorks. I ended up sticking with ScalarWorks as my mounting system for a couple reasons. One, it's among the strongest out there, along with Gh3 Super Duties and those types of things. But super strong, super lightweight. There's a leveler in there that screws up and levels the optic automatically, makes your life super easy. It's just a very well-designed mount. As well, the mounts actually screwed in are flush. That's super important with a Scar where the charging handle rides so close to the optic, which is one of my complaints on the Scar. Not a review yet, but at some point. In any case, I find that that mount works best for me. Also, excellent return to zero, well proven, shown to be great at holding zero. So I tried to remove as many variables as possible. Could it be due to the mount? It could. Nothing is out of the realm of possibility. In any case, let's talk about the test itself. This optic did excellent over the 4,000 rounds and plus the extra 1,000 rounds on the long boy Scar. And that was great. After that, I switched it to the short boy Scar right here in hopes of utterly annihilating this optic over 1,000 rounds. It held true, no problem. Once I did that, I decided that it was time to begin our final eval of about 500 rounds torture testing. So what we did is I mounted into the ScalarWorks mount, zeroed. You can see the initial zero right here in this video. Now in this video right here, I'm zeroing it for around 50 yards with a battle zero. So I haven't really decided what zero I want with this particular rifle because a short barrel 308 is a little bit interesting when it comes to having your zero. But in any case, I wanted something that was relatively flat, anywhere from 50 all the way out to about 300, which is going to be my farthest shot at this particular range I was shooting at. Now, that being said, the steel at 300 was a reduced size silhouette, specifically a half size. So you had a simulated further than 300 yard target. Am I going to claim that? No, Marines will hop down my throat and kill me from the inside, and I don't want that to happen. I respect Marines, I don't want to die by their hand. In any case, as you can see from the zero, we're shooting quarter-sized holes. Now, we are shooting this with military ammunition, specifically PPU, just a basic M80 ball. Is that super accurate ammunition? No, and I know that could have some bearing on the test, but almost all of my shooting, and I think realistically most people's shooting, is done with surplus/military/ammo that's a little bit cheaper. So I thought it was a little bit better of a test to do with that. I'm sure people are gonna hop in here and destroy me for that. Be that what it may, As you can see, the accuracy from the Scar is phenomenal. I consider the Scar to be a very accurate weapon system, so no issues there. Now, once we zeroed it, confirmed zero, took our shots at 300 at the steel, we decided it was time to drop this. So the first drop test that we did was upside down directly onto the Optic. Once we did that, we did left, right, re-shot to make sure our grouping was still good to see for any shift, and then of course, a shot at steel. Fire a group and we'll see how she runs, see if we run into any problems. Okay, let's go take a look, see how the zero is doing. After we do that, we'll go ahead and we'll take a bar shot at steel at about 150 and see how that works. So fired these about equal, so I fired this one at this dot right here, this one. So as you can see, our grouping is literally about the same. No differences. Flyer there was from me when I pulled the shot, but it's about what can be expected from a battle rifle firing military ammo. No glass was broken, it was good to go. We shot our grouping, perfect. No shift, nothing like that. That is excellent. That's what we want to see from a shoulder height drop onto grass. Now, after we did that, it was time to drop it onto the rocks to see if we could absolutely destroy this Optic. That's very hard on some of these, aluminum body type optics. So, first drop upside down. First off, my very first video of me dropping upside down was not captured on film, unfortunately, because the camera guy forgot to hit the record button. Good times. Anyhow, we dropped this twice on its directly onto it. Both times dented the top of the Optic. Now, with that denting, it was harder to rotate this past from the 2 to the 3 power all the way to the 6. Curiously, the more I've rotated it, the more it seems to be okay. With the dent, seems to be just as good. So I'm not sure what that is, but the gun has held zero since. After we dropped it directly onto its top, we dropped onto its left and right side, this poor Scar. After that, we took our shots on steel. Okay, so that is the second drop onto the rocks for the primary arms. So right here, we have a dent on the housing body. That's pretty typical of what you'd expect from the type of materials used. To be clear, I believe that would happen with any Optic, and it's something that you expect to see. So we have our first slight malfunction. Right here where it's dented is somewhat causing some problems with being able to shift from 1 to 6. That's pretty normal. Let's go ahead and let's do a drop on the side right here. Okay. Don't see any visible impacts. Go ahead and drop another. Okay. Looks like we have no more denting on the body, mostly just caps right there. Caps still unscrew, no problem. Okay, cap still unscrew. Illumination still works. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's load up. Let's see where our zero is at. We know that we are impacting steel pretty well at about 150. So we'll give that another shot. I was not able to get impacts on steel reliably. We went and re-zeroed our Optic, and sure enough, we were shooting low by about 2.5 inches. I don't fault the Optic for that. I think any Optic dropped directly onto its body would dent and would have a change in zero. The question was after I re-zeroed the Optic, could it hold zero? So we re-zeroed the Optic, we shot a bunch more after that, about another 200 rounds. We re-zeroed, no shift. Excellent. Looks like we got the zeroed back in. 5-round group, so let's go ahead and let's check on steel. Okay, so we're back on steel, so yeah, pretty good. So I've been harder on this and done some different testing from what I typically do from a lot of rifles. So with the Night Force, one of the ways I tested it was I laser tossed it into the ground. So we're gonna go ahead and do that and see if we can hit these targets once again. Okay, so we got some nice mud right in the muzzle. So we'll go ahead and clear that off because we don't want to shoot with mud in the muzzle here. So, get some mud obstructing some gas ports on the muzzle brake. We'll see how that kind of affects everything. I'm thinking the first shot might be a bit of a wash, but we'll see how it does. I think she's good. This optic was zeroed and good to go. I went ahead and I laser tossed it, a solid 8-10 feet. The scar sailed through the air, impacted, re-zeroed, and sure enough, we did have a shift about 1/2 inch to the left from that initial drop. Was that from the mount or the optic? I'm not sure, but we certainly did have a shift. Now, that's a shift that we did not see with the Night Force. Now, we re-zeroed, shot another 200 rounds, re-zeroed after that. Good to go. We once again had a zeroed optic that would hold. However, during very hard impacts under rocks from shoulder height, or where it directly impacted the optic, or during long tosses, it seems to lose zero. So what does that say about this particular optic? What do I think about these results? I think that they're pretty typical of an optic that is in the category of the Primary Arms Raptor. And I don't even mean in its price point. In fact, I mean simply a lightweight aluminum-bodied optic that is made for speed and competition, those types of things. Famously, Gh3, a very high-end manufacturer of optics, is well known on its earlier models to be particularly delicate. Something to be said there. Now, of course, between Gh3 and the Primary Arms, is there a difference? Absolutely. The Gh3 has probably the most phenomenally clear glass of any optic I've ever looked through. That being said, it is telling. I think that the EOTech Voodoo, the Gh3, and several other optics I'm not specifically going to mention here fall into a category of a lightweight optic that are likely more prone to zero shift from drops. Now, I'll be confirming this test with further videos. Now, there are certain optics that will take this types of abuse much better. Optics that are built like tanks, things like the Vortex Razor Gen 2, the Night Force ATACR, are both tanks that are made to withstand very harsh impacts and take very harsh recoil. Despite that, I find that their ability to withstand recoil between those really nice optics and this are roughly the same. However, the drops definitely differentiate those two categories of optics. So what do I think? The Primary Arms Raptor sits at around $400 approximately right now and performs incredibly well. Now, I want to be clear. I don't have the newer Raptor. This Raptor that I have here is one of their first generations that they made. I don't believe that there have been any significant changes that I'm aware of that necessitated changing optics to the new one in order to do this test. And on top of that, it would take a lot more time. So I'm going to release this review with this older Raptor. That being said, I believe that there are no changes and you're getting the same Raptor that I'm reviewing right here. Of course, it used to cost less, costs a little bit more now, which is unfortunate. Despite that, I think that the Raptor is absolutely still a good buy. Now, you can still find some very excellent optics for very low prices. People are typically selling Steiner 1 to 4 powers for a very cheap price, and those are excellent optics, as is the Trijicon 1 to 4 powers as well. So lots of good prices when you get into that category, especially when you go into used optics. So sometimes it's a tough choice, but suffice it to say, if you have a primary arms Raptor, don't be afraid. You're dealing with a phenomenal optic, and I think it will serve you very well. Now, I want to be very clear. Optics that get into the 400 plus category typically have much superior glass quality compared to the Raptor. Things like the EOTech Voodoo and the Vortex and those types of things have better glass, better edge-to-edge clarity, less separation of colors when you're looking through the optic. So don't believe that you're getting the exact same optic made in the same factory. You are getting different optics, but that being said, you shouldn't be ashamed. And especially, I do consider the ACSS to be a far superior reticle compared to many of the other offerings from other companies. So where does it stand? I think it's an awesome optic. I'm actually very impressed with how it did in this torture test. We'll be repeating this torture test with the Vortex Razor, the EOTech Voodoo, the Nightforce ATACR, and others to see how well they survive. So definitely stay tuned there. But suffice to say, our first optic to go through this did incredibly well. I think that's a combination of excellent mount and excellent optic, and specifically the manufacturing and engineering that went into it. Primary Arms has done their homework and they've made a great budget optic. You definitely won't be sad with it. So guys, here's the thing. As cool as these optics are, you're not gonna look good at them unless you get training. Make sure that you get training, gentlemen. Training is what separates you from people who just own these to collect versus people who own these to use them. You yourself are going to dictate how well the tool works for you. Make sure that you become an expert in its application. Guys like Haley Strategic, Drew Estel from Bear Solutions, Cogworks, Esoteric, Darcy, many other guys, Pat McNamara, tons of great trainers out there ready to give you knowledge. Get in there, learn from these gentlemen, and become a better shooter. Ladies, gentlemen, ACOGs, thank you for watching. And as per usual, I've got nothing else for you guys. Last thing for you guys, I've seen a lot of people say that they can't afford XYZ because it's too expensive. I also see these same people eating out every day. Now I understand that sometimes you might be busy and you're necessitated to eat out due to extenuating circumstances. However, I will say that a good meal prepping on your part will both yield you a healthier meal as well as a less expensive meal, leading to savings, allowing you to be more productive in your life. So a little bit of extra work saves you a lot in the end. Very easy to cook up a lot of stuff and put it in Tupperware throughout the week. Therefore, you make your life easier. Therefore, you have to eat out less, become healthier, and you get more money and healthier. You're hotter and you have more money. Life's just better. Of course, everything doesn't revolve around currency. That being said, being in a financially secure and stable situation will lead to a lot less stress in your life. Make sure you're taking care of yourselves, guys, like I've talked about for a long time in all aspects of your life. Thank you for watching, gentlemen. If you've gotten this far, you know that the biggest thing that helps me is Patreon. Supports me directly, buys lenses and gear that I break all the time. I literally broke a lens on my last shoot. Good times. And if you've gotten this far, we have a very interesting sponsor right here from TacPack. So TacPack is essentially a subscription service and you get a mystery box of tactical type accessories. Now, is this necessary? That's a good question. Do you like being surprised by random tactical gear? If so, this might be for you. If you use the discount code THUMB at checkout, you will get an extra bag of gear. Is it worth it? I don't know. That's kind of up to you guys, but in any case, I want to let you guys be aware of that. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. You know I love you. Take care of yourselves.